Noter við að sjá. Næstur á mælendaskrá Jan Petter Breilin, hann byggingaverkfræðingur og brunaverkfræðingur og hefur unnið á slökkviliðinu í Ringsager í Noregi síðan 1999. Hann vinnur á forvarnasviði ásamt því að standa vaktir sem vakthafandi slökkvistjóri og varðstjóri. Ég ætla nú að leyfa honum að kynna sig kannski betur sjálfur. Velkomin.
So, thank you very much for having me. That's my name. This is Norway. It's Hedmark fylke. Ringsaker are part of Hedmark fylke. We are almost 33,500 people. It's 1,280 square kilometers. It's Norway's largest agriculture municipality. Do anybody use that word? I never heard it before I used Google. I used Google a lot last year in days. We produced 17,000 tons of meat last year. We have a municipal fire brigade with 4 fire stations. One in Trøndelag, where we have 4 firefighters full time. They work from 8 to 4, from Monday to Friday. And then there are part-timers on top of that. So from 4 o'clock until morning next time, the part-timers take over. And we have one fire station at Nes. This is agriculture environment. Some of our firefighters are farmers. They're very useful in agriculture fires. We have a station in Moen. It's more industrial area in Ismali. It's a small area, but up here it's about this much people in holidays, because it's a lot of cabins out there. I'm going to try to walk you through the biggest agriculture fire we had. This is from another fire, but I thought it was a good picture. I tried to merge some experience from other fires and generally about our experience with agricultural fires and evacuating of domestic animals. I spoke to Sigurd a little bit in the car last day, yesterday. He picked me up and we agreed English is a lot easier after half a bottle of vodka. As you can hear, I haven't had that today. On October 12th, about 1:30 in the afternoon, alarm went for what seemed to be one of the biggest and worst farm fires in Norwegian history. The address was Steingård in Moelv. This is the district's largest farm. It's a little over 3,500 square meters, 3 stories high, so about 10,000 square meters. This is the barn, Stein barn, as it looked before the fire. The farm is one of the oldest farms in Norway. It was built back in the 13th century. And part of the farm where the animals were kept was built in 1998. It was built, maintained and equipped according to all regularity requirements. Steingård is located here. It got its name from the rock in the lake. This is the biggest lake in Norway. Norwegian rock is called Stein. Maybe it's the same here. Yeah. I called out crew from the three nearest fire stations. Of course, Moal, they the closest. I called out Lundal, and of course I required Nes because there we had the farmers, knowing they would be very valuable if we had to evacuate the livestock. In addition, I required water truck and fire lift from a neighbor fire department, as well as the civil defense. And the veterinarian. I know somewhere in this room there's a veterinarian, and he's going to talk to you later. I apologize if I'm repeating what what's your name again? Snorre said, because I didn't understand a word he was saying. So maybe I'm repeating what he said. A vet is very useful in a farm fire. They can tell you which animals it's worth saving, and they're good at putting down the one that's injured. We got to know this vet, not particularly this one, but the one we worked together with back in '96 at the large barn fire. And we were busy evacuating animals. Then this young veterinarian suddenly said, "Stop, we're giving up now. Let the temperature rise and put an end to it." He of course knew that the cattle inside already was suffering because of the smoke and the heat. Even if you had got them out, he would put them down immediately. But this was back then a whole new way of thinking for us. We were used to get them out at any cost. And there was quite a heated discussion. This young boy coming to tell us how to do our job. In retrospect, of course, he was right. He's an expert on animal welfare. So we worked together with the veterinarian in a much better way than we did that. But even though he is an expert on animals, it's important to work together and look after each other, because the same veterinarian was working with us a few years later. Then he already had that water truck. The condition in the barn was quite good, so it looked like we won't get all the cattle out. Then I received a report from a crew on the other side. They're saying, "Hey, it doesn't look good anymore. I'm afraid the ceiling is coming and the roof is coming down." So I ordered a retreat. Everybody got out. But this veterinarian, he disagreed. He ran back in. So I just grabbed hold of the biggest firefighter I could see, sending him in, give him order to get this veterinarian out. Knock him down if you have to. He didn't, because this is a big firefighter who's coming out. Only a few minutes later, the roof was coming down. So all in all, he taught us something new, and we taught him that it's okay to listen to others. And we've been working very well together afterwards. He actually has a helmet and some fire clothes in his car. So he became some kind of true fireman, veterinarian after this. This is a picture from a local newspaper, Lysaker Blad. It's taken a little bit later than when I arrived, maybe a couple of minutes. When I arrived, it seemed like it would be impossible to rescue any of the almost 300 animals in the barn. Fortunately, the animal room was, this is taken about 2 kilometers away. And this is the area where we think the fire started. I have some pictures from the investigation later. I took some pictures then. Talk a little bit about the investigation at the end. The animal room here was a separate cell, a forest cell. I don't know, do you use the same word? Yeah. In concrete. So it stood against the fire rather good. And as you can see here, the fire started on the floor above the animal room. The animal room is the concrete below. The first fire truck.
So you wanted some water?
That would be great. May not work as well as water, but it's worth a try. Thank you. Okay. These pictures I borrowed from Adolfsen in Norsk Brannvernforening. It's I think it's a little similar to the organization that's holding this event. He was kind enough to let me borrow it. Took some very good photos. The first truck on the scene started shielding the residential building, which is this. And the radiating heat.
Yes.
Thank you. She's better in English than I am. It was so strong that when they first water on this wall, it immediately evaporated. So it's clear that it was very close to losing this house. So as I said, the fire started outside the animal room. And you can see here, it's the concrete ceiling or floor, and it's beton elements on the side. And it's made it possible for us to work inside. At any fire, but of course, especially at this kind of fire, it's big and it goes on a long time. It's important to keep in mind that there are potential dangers everywhere, not only external but also internal. Even the working moral of our firefighters might turn out to be a problem for us. Back in 2009, 2 of our firefighters had to stay the night at hospital after working too hard for too long on pigs out of a burning building. Luckily, they both recovered and back in business. We learned something then. I'm guessing that your part-timers are a little bit the same. Our full-timers has, I don't know how to put it, but they're a little bit more laid back. Things happen a little bit more often. They are firefighters all week, and they learn more about when to stop. But we find out that it's not enough to ask them, is it okay to dive one more time? Let's say, yeah, I'm ready. And you might even have to carry them out. So, it's important to make sure they get rest, get to drink, get to eat. And one more thing, we thought that we had informed the rest of the crew, but it's very hard to see a colleague being carried out and transported away in an ambulance. Some of them didn't get the information what is happening to Ola. So, in this sort of situations, it's very, very important to make sure everybody get the information what's happening. In farms, there are a lot of equipment that should be dangerous in fire, both inside and outside the buildings. In this farm, luckily for us, the workshop was in another building, about 100 meters away. Had it been inside the farm, as it often is, we might have had to cope with such as welding gas, acetylene and oxygen, and as you all know, the safety distance there is 300 meters. And even this barn isn't that big. So even though we didn't have that kind of danger, the working condition was challenging because there was not a complete ceiling between the floors. So smoke and heat were pushed into the animal room or fjords. Yeah. So we had to get the civilian out of there because they had no protective equipment. But the problem was they refused. They wouldn't go out, and if you chased them out, they go back in. It went so far that one of the employees on the farm had to spend the night in hospital after breathing too much smoke. And this had proven to be a problem in several fires because the farmer and also some of his employees often has a close relationship with his animals and are trying often more than it's good for them. It actually has happened that we had to use force to pull somebody out of a burning building. Afterwards, the visibility became worse, and one of the smoke divers reported that the ceiling has fallen down. So we pulled our crew out, we put on a big fan, knocked out windows, pushed the smoke out. Then it turned out that it wasn't the ceiling, it was some big, some large ceiling lights that were falling down and landing on top of this, I don't know what you call it, the boxes where the animals in, the walls about this high. And he was moving inwards and he felt what he thought was the ceiling. These lights were attached to the concrete with plastic plugs and the plastic melted. For a short period of time, we actually thought 2 people had returned into the fire on the floor above, up here. Somebody reported they'd seen 2 people walking in there, and they said it was the mother of the farmer and the one responsible for the cattle. Fortunately, this. And before I got to give the order to start searching for them, and probably just pull out 2 dead people, it proved not to be correct. But these 2 people had shown up on the farm, and I got a hold of the employee. I tried to hold him next to me, but of course he ran away, trying to help. Here we go. But I got hold of him and I made him give me a drawing about how is the barn looking inside. And he could tell that the whole barn had concrete ceiling in the animal room. And he was actually already made an appointment to visit the farm and make what we call an action plan. I don't know what you used to say. Unfortunately, the barn burned down before we got to it. An action plan would have made the first part of this work a lot easier. And we are still working on making action plans on the farms around. Of course, we do risk review to determine if it's safe to stay inside, because even if even though this is concrete, it's weakened after severe heat stress, and it might not bear heavy object like if it's a tractor standing on top of this or other heavy equipment. But even if it's not stressed by heat, it won't necessarily hold a tractor falling down from 2 stairs above. So working inside a house like this is important not only to think about what you can see, but what's on top of it. Yeah, you can see the concrete ceiling on the floor. Communication, always challenging, especially when there are so many people in action on such a large area. It was half a kilometer to walk around the barn. I did it a couple of times, and I don't know about you, but our boots, they're not made for walking. Your feet hurts in a little way. You get blister and all of that stuff. And it didn't help the communication that the reception on our radios were rather poor. I created a command center. We call it KO. I don't know what it's called in.
Well,
A command center where you.
come on, something.
Yeah, we call it that. This is taken about where my command center was, together with my second in command and the police. And we often have to leave this command center to get in touch with the sector leaders, as the radio communication often failed us. And the leader of the police got really frustrated with us constantly disappearing. Where you can see that's me and my second in command talking to the leaders at the door. All fires go through what we in Norway call chaos phase in the beginning, until you get a hold of the situation and establish a management system. Everyone wants to assist, and even though our crew are well trained and know what to do, communication is required to organize the efforts, take care of safety, etc. So I called in all the leaders for a brief meeting, and we divided the area into 3 sectors, each with 1 leader, and we distributed communication radio channels in direct mode. You call it the same in Europe? Yes? Because TMO failed us. This helped a lot. I see that next time I'm going to do it even earlier. We use water trucks and we connected to the irrigation system on the farm. Here is irrigation equipment that was standing through the night cooling the area. And in addition, the civil defense supplied us with water from the lake. It's about 200 or 300 meters down. Overall, we had enough of water, and it takes a lot of water in such a fire. And then the next problem occurs, because this water flows down to the cellar, and it mixes with the manure, or it makes a soup. And the risk is that you can overfill the cellar, so it breaks. Then huge amounts of manure would then come like a very bad smelling tsunami. There's no stopping it, and it would go down to the lake. And if we had downstream had some residential building or something, it would be catastrophic. So we had to monitor the cellar, not overfill it. Evacuating animals. It's demanding. Animals also get scared in this situation, and many of them have never been outside. Our crew has regularly trained in evacuation of animals. We are so lucky. We have some farmers among us, among our firefighters, that allows us to train with their animals, especially in Nes, the agriculture area. But we also have contact with other farmers, so all the others also get to train. It's important. This is a door, and of course the electricity went out. So this is a forklift we use to open the gate. It's not ideal. They never. Well, actually, they've seen this because they use it to drive the food. You can see this firefighter standing away from the door. It's important. Never put anything unknown. They don't know in front of them. A firefighter in protective gear looks scary, and especially if they look like moon men going. They've never seen anything. It's scary. And do not place cars with the flashing lights or blowlights outside so they can see it. Keep fans that making wind and noise away from the place you want to go out. A whole new experiment for us this time was the big television channels. We're used to them and the fact that they're always going to have an interview. Sorry, I'm busy doing something. I just need 5 minutes. And getting in the way. But this time, we found out that they were sending live from the fire without us knowing it. They put on small cameras. You can hardly see them on tripods around. And they streamed live for hours. It took a few hours before we realized that this was a camera and it was sending live. I hope this isn't.
You're on TV.
And there were so many of them that it was very hard to find a private spot if you had to. So we had to go really long to find a private spot. And afterwards, I'm told that some of our crew that wasn't on the fire was sitting, watching us, and even listening to what we were saying. And I'm sure it's the same in your country. Some rough jokes are rather common. It's a way of coping with tragedy like this, making jokes on it. So my fear the next day was that this microphone picked up some jokes that shouldn't be outside. We all like it this time, but now we know we can't talk about ourselves and believe we are alone anymore. Then back to evacuating animals.